This is a sample of the information provided as part of the flexible training resources available through hassup.com. Our training courses are designed to provide training participants with an understanding of food safety and quality system elements and also offer user-friendly assessment activities and competency checklists to complete the training cycle. Social responsibility standards. Key definitions for social responsibility standards. Corporate social responsibility. Corporate social responsibility, also known as corporate responsibility, corporate citizenship, responsible business, sustainable responsible business or corporate social performance, is a form of corporate self-regulation integrated into a business model. The corporate social responsibility process is implemented to guide all company activities in the protection and promotion of international human rights, labor and environmental standards in compliance with legal requirements within its scope of operations. Ethical sourcing. Ethical sourcing is the intentional purchase of products and services that the customer considers to be sourced ethically. This may mean with minimal harm to or exploitation of humans, animals or the natural environment. International Labour Organization. The International Labour Organization or ILO is the tripartite United Nations agency that brings together governments, employers and workers of its member states in common action to promote decent work throughout the world. Social responsibility standards development. When considering the development, documentation and implementation of social responsibility standards within food safety and quality management systems, the following information should be considered to ensure effective outcomes. About social responsibility standards. Social responsibility standards are applied across international food industries to ensure sourcing is facilitated in a responsible manner, to ensure suppliers continually improve their social and environmental practices and shield business and brand confidence. Social responsibility standards are a general expectation of consumers who, over time, have become increasingly aware of purchasing goods and services that have been sourced in a manner that does not include exploitation of humans, wildlife or the environment, or in a manner that does not represent a danger to the health or safety of humans, wildlife or the environment. In an effort to provide food items at competitive prices, food businesses are continually forced to source items from a variety of international locations, including developing countries. Instances of exposed poor working conditions and environmental degradation within developing countries over time have seen businesses develop and implement targeted social responsibility requirements for their suppliers. Common elements of social responsibility standards implemented by progressive food businesses include using suppliers that source, manufacture and package their products in a responsible manner, working with suppliers to improve their social and environmental practices, development, implementation and maintenance of policies and procedures applicable to ethical sourcing issues that it can control or influence, and demonstrating to interested parties that it has implemented policies, procedures and practices that conform to the requirements of these standards. The basis of social responsibility standards is commonly linked to recognized ethical trading and labor initiatives. These are often used to define the guidelines for the social responsibility standards mandated by customers of food businesses. Corporate social responsibility. Corporate social responsibility is a term commonly used to define the objective commitment to accountability for any business operation in relation to their supply chains, business outputs and social impacts. An example may be that a senior company representative should be responsible for maintaining procedures for the selection of suppliers and subcontractors and determining their ability to meet the company's ethical sourcing policies and the requirements of relevant social responsibility standards. Elements of social responsibility standards commonly addressed as part of any food business corporate social responsibility may include child labor, illegal labor and labor rights, wages and benefits for employees, working hours, discrimination, discipline, freedom of association, health and safety, accommodation, facilities and amenities, equipment, compliance with local and international laws, environment, social responsibility standards, child labor. No child labor is utilized. Minimum age of employment is in line with International Labour Organization recommendations. Workers should be of an appropriate age, and must not be deprived of their childhood, their dignity or their potential. Child labor must not be facilitated where such labor would be harmful to their mental and physical development. Illegal labor and labor rights. No forced labor is utilized. Bonded labor is prohibited. Identity papers are not required or bonded from employees to supplier. Employment should be freely chosen, not bonded or involuntary. Workers should not be required to lodge money or possessions with their employer and can leave employment with a reasonable period of notice. Wages and benefits for employees. Wages and benefits for workers for a standard working week should meet industry benchmarks or legal standards. Wages should be enough to meet basic needs and to provide some additional income. Workers should have access to the documented and understandable particulars of their income and terms for a standard working week. Deductions from wages should not be facilitated unless they are legal and acknowledged by the relevant employee. A wage compliance supplier will have a wage compliance program in place which ensures that employee wages, payment cycles, overtime policies all adhere to local regulation or ILO conventions. The supplier should have a provision for the following benefits: workers' leave, sick and maternity or paternity leave as required by local regulations. Regarding terms of employment, the company should provide employees with documented terms of employment. The document should address at a minimum pay rates, including overtime pay rates, dates and means of payment, usual working hours, rights and obligations of both parties as appropriate, conditions for termination and provisions for holidays and sick leave if applicable. Working hours. The company should not utilize excessive working hours more than 72 hours per week. Working hours for a standard working week should meet industry benchmarks or legal standards. Under standard conditions and circumstances, workers should not be required to work more than an acceptable number of hours per week, and should be granted at least one day off, on average, per calendar week. Overtime should not be mandatory, and should be paid at an applicable suitable rate of pay. Discrimination. Discrimination should not be facilitated in any manner, including through hiring, compensation, access to training, positional promotion, employment termination based on race or caste, nationality, religion, age, disability, gender, marital status, sexual orientation, union membership or political affiliation. The company should facilitate equal opportunity in hiring. They should not discriminate in their hiring of potential employees on the basis of age, race, gender, religion, ethnic origin, disability or other arbitrary or personal basis. The company should facilitate equal opportunity in employment. They should not discriminate against employees on the basis of age, race, gender, religion, ethnic origin, disability or other arbitrary or personal basis in regards to compensation, training, promotion, termination or retirement. Discipline. Disciplinary measures should not be facilitated in a manner that causes physical or mental harm. Records of all disciplinary actions must be recorded. Physical abuse, sexual abuse, harassment, verbal abuse and other forms of intimidation are not acceptable under any circumstances. Freedom of association. Workers should have the right to initiate or maintain union memberships of their own choice, and to participate in collective bargaining as required. Employers should facilitate open attitudes towards trade unions and their organizational activities. They should not interfere with, obstruct or prevent such legitimate and lawful activities. Employee representatives are supported by the business within their required duties within the workplace. Workplace health and safety. Accidents should be prevented through conscious applications of workplace health and safety requirements throughout the workplace environment. Relevant health and safety training should be conducted and recorded to ensure all employees are aware of applicable risks. Personal protective equipment should be provided and must be available as required. Responsibility for health and safety should be delegated to a member of senior management. In terms of workplace health and safety, the company should appoint a senior management representative responsible for employee occupational health and safety. The company should provide a safe working environment for employees by documenting a workplace health and safety plan which outlines the results of a risk assessment identifying all hazards to employee health and safety in the work environment. identifies control points to manage those hazards identified, establishes policies and procedures that are appropriate to the industry sector and that as far as reasonably practicable eliminate, isolate and/or minimize the hazards. Employees should not be subjected to any sort of abuse, verbal, physical or sexual for any reason. Accommodation, facilities and amenities. Suitably constructed, maintained, cleaned and sanitized working facilities, amenities and accommodation should be provided for all employees. Access to clean and sanitary toilet facilities and potable drinking water of suitable temperature should be provided. Where appropriate, suitably constructed and maintained facilities for eating and drinking, including food storage amenities, should be provided. Where applicable, accommodation facilities should be suitably constructed and maintained to ensure the safety and basic needs of worker. Compliance with local and international laws. Only employees with a legal privilege to be employed should be used. Evidence of the legal status of all employees should be verified through relevant original documentation by the employer. Relationships with regulatory agencies should be nurtured by the employer to ensure ongoing positive outcomes. The supplier should ensure that all local and applicable regulations are in compliance, including that all monitoring is completed per regulatory requirements and business licenses and permits are maintained and current. Did you know that HACCP.com includes resources that allow you to create, manage and implement GFSI and HACCP-based food safety and quality programs? Improve your food safety and quality skills and knowledge? Train and develop your team to create better food safety and quality outcomes? Find suppliers and service providers to partner with your business? The information and training resources available through HACCP.com included a variety of formats, such as website content, MP4, MP4 and text, MP3, PDF and slideshow. Are you ready to take the next step in your food compliance journey? Visit HACCP.com today to create your profile and access the full versions of our food safety and quality information packages and much more.